Okay, we should be here now. Okay, live now. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Sorry, got distracted. The announcement actually happened. I'm here. Sorry for the delay. Yeah, just was trying to set this up when that went out. But that's a good start, isn't it? Yes. Shaw out. Okay. De Ligt announced. I mean, there's a mess of stuff with this. The link doesn't work on the thing. Sky Sports are tweeting pictures of Mazraoui with De Ligt being announced. It's been yeah, it's been funny. Let's see. Hold on one second. I'm just trying to make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be on everything. Okay. Sky tweeting the wrong picture of a player. Oh man. All right. How funny. So yes, how are we all doing today? We are all doing well. Hold on. Mazraoui, 8 minutes. Mazraoui, 8 minutes. 8 minutes, Mazraoui. Eight minutes. Hold on. We'll do it while we're live here. 8 minutes, Mazraoui. Sorry. That's why I was checking. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Mazraoui will be announced. 8:25. 8:25. Mazraoui. So there you go. I just got that. Okay, good deal. All right. So, we're back. We are back. We are back. We are here. Okay, all right. Focus. So they're going to announce him while we're sitting here. They will announce it. "2019 is finally here. De Ligt announced and James live." There we go. We've got it. They will announce it when we're here. Okay, sorry. De Ligt announced. Let me pull it up so we can talk about everything that's going on. One sec here. So sorry. I'm all over the place trying to keep up with this right now. Just getting all these messages and things. This will be a mess of a start to this live stream, and then we will talk about everything that's happening. Let's see. Let me put this up. De Ligt. Yeah. Republican. Rudy is not a Republican, but here we go. All right. So Matthijs De Ligt announced. That's the first thing. Yeah, that is the first thing. Matthijs De Ligt announced. It's done. It's over. It's happened. He's here. I cannot actually believe this. This was the history of our channel, of our platform, of everything was starting with Matthijs De Ligt, and he is finally here. There's a press release. The website thing didn't work. There's a press release, in there, and that has these quotes. So that's where these quotes are coming from. But he's finally here. It's been a long time coming, obviously. And now it's actually happened. And I mean, obviously, for a long time, it was looking like it was never going to happen after everything. And now he's here. Now we have another center back in the door. And that gives us 4 good center backs this season. Obviously, there is Lisandro Martinez, Matthijs De Ligt, Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro. I want to talk about Gerard Braithwaite, potentially more signings in a minute, but this was obviously a good start to adding someone, especially with Lenny Yoro being injured, to have a lot of good, center backs in the door and ready to go. So we needed it. We needed this kind of improvement in the team overall. We needed to have a bigger squad of center backs. And as I put forward, in January, United were looking at an overhaul of center backs. That was going to be one of the number one priorities. Yeah, I called this 5 years ago exactly. No, it was going to be, an overhaul at center back was going to be the key this summer. One thing that they really, really wanted to do, and they knew at that point that Raphael Varane was going to leave. And when you look at the age of the center backs that we had at that time as well, there was, Raphael Varane's pretty old. Maguire's on the older side. Lindelof on the older side. Lisandro Martinez right in the middle. So the age profile of our center backs means we're constantly, changing it every couple of years. And that doesn't work for United. And that's not where they want to go forward. When, we're kind of pushing things ahead and looking at the long-term plan, then what matters is that you have players building for the future. And for the future, what we wanted to do was have players that can grow with the club and grow into and get better and better, because we always have to spend money to get better because we're buying players at the top or at the end most of the time when they're in the decline. And so we don't get better, and we're constantly trying to keep up with players falling off, players aging, players getting worse and worse. But now by buying these younger players who can develop with the team, we are, moving forward quicker. We are moving forward quicker, and can have them actually improve year over year into the future, and that means growth without spending money, which is important. You always got to spend money and do transfers, but you want to be able to spend as good as possible and kind of minimize the spending that you do and the spending that you have. So I think that the age profiles here have been fantastic. I mean, De Ligt is turning 24, Euro 19, right? So when they change it, then it's going to get better and better. As they get better and better, it's going to get better and better. And will continue to improve in the future. And I think that's the important part that we all want to see, is that we get better and better every single year, and actually improve upon things rather than declining. And that'll be the case with Euro. That'll be the case with De Ligt. That'll be the case if we get Braithwaite, and that's the case, of course, with Xerxes coming in, and that should be the case with anybody that we sign this year. And so the further targets that we have, which we'll talk about in a minute, then it'll get better. It'll just keep improving. Let's see. Just a moment. So I'm very excited about all of that. Yeah, I'm just waiting for this to likely. They can read it wrong if they want. Of course it's the time. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be in just a second here. There you go. Mazraoui to Man United is also complete. Fee of 15 million plus 5 million in add-ons and contract to 2028 with the option of another year. There's Mazraoui. There it is. Boom. On time. There we go. Da, 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 da. Mazraoui done. Subject to registration. Da, 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 da. Okay. Mazraoui in the door. So there's our double signings done. Fantastic stuff. Someone's already saying that it's a 70 million package, right? Yeah, using the inflated fee, huh? 70 million. Right. Yeah, there's a picture Let's see. Let me find a good post to put up here. We'll take this one from Rich Fay, and let's get it up on the screen. So we've got Manchester United completing the signing of Nusar Mazraoui from Bayern Munich for 15 million with a potential 5 million in add-ons. Signed a contract till June 2028. So only a 4-year +1. He's a little older. And I think that this continues to tell you what we're actually doing. Once again, he's a little bit older, so he's only signing a 4-year contract. And I think that that's part of it as well. He's going to be 30, something like that. They don't want to be stuck with players for too long past, their expiration date, as you were. So that's what they're doing now. He's turning 27 during the season, so he'll be, into 30, as we get, as he gets towards the end of his contract. So that's why they're doing things this way. That's why they're approaching things this way. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm very excited about all of this. Let me just find something here, and then I'll get into my normal stuff that I want to talk about here. One sec. Just wrap up tweets and things like that. I know I'm 32, so trust me, I understand. Expiration date. I know this. It's a sell by date, right? It's like you gotta be gone by this age. See you later. I know. Makes you feel old, doesn't it? Talking about players like they're finished at that age is a little bit painful. Let me just put this tweet, and then I will be ready to continue on. Okay. Whew. So that was chaotic. That was chaotic. Just keeping up on all of this. This is like housekeeping. It's kind of funny because a lot of people really look at these announcements and they're like, oh my God, you got the announcement time and all of that. It's not that exciting. It's like this is like housekeeping, having to put these things together for the announcements and trying to leak the announcement times and stuff like that. That stuff is easy because there's tons of people who have it, frankly. Anyway, all right. So let's get into it. We have Mazraoui announced. We have De Ligt announced. Let's move on to the first subject that we want to talk about, which is Luke Shaw's injury. Now, I understand heard from someone. Oh, hold on. United put out theirs. I'm so sorry. Let me do this one more time. I just want to show this because United finally put out their Mazraoui tweet. There it is. All right. Looks really good. Completed the move from Bayern to United. There we go. So I first heard last week that Luke Shaw was injured, unfortunately. And he made it through, I think, 2 days of... I think he made it through 2 days of training. And fair play to Frederick, if you follow him. He got the news first on this. He had it. I think that United wanted to have Mazraoui done before saying anything and putting stuff out about Luke Shaw being injured. It's certainly not a surprise that the moment he, that when this is all done and they're ready to announce, then they put forward the info about Luke Shaw. So, yeah, he's injured. And, the delay was that they wanted to get Mazraoui done. They don't want someone to come in and raise the price of the player at the last minute simply because they can, and because United at that point in time are pretty desperate and need to have one fit fullback, senior fullback, in Diogo Dalot. They didn't want to mess up the Wan-Bissaka deal. They didn't want to mess up the Mazraoui deal. They wanted to get these things done. So it was something that they essentially, had to sit on a little bit for a while to try to just make sure that that it was gonna work, that everything was gonna get done, that nobody was going to mess with them because of the injury. That was my understanding anyway, that they were playing it cool because of that. So now, this was something that was pushing United to get somebody, because the problem with Luke Shaw is not just that he's going to be out for 6 weeks or something like that. The problem is that the problem is that once he's getting injured already, we probably can't rely on Luke Shaw anymore moving forward, and that we don't know whether he's ever going to be healthy for a long enough period of time. So if he comes back after 6 weeks, well, maybe he plays for a couple months, but then they think we probably get injured again, because then what happens? And that was a big push for this, and they didn't want to mess that up. They didn't want to get paid, have to overpay for it. They wanted to get De Ligt done as well, and so we got a good deal in there, and that's why. Now, Mazraoui will likely come in to help support us, so that we can have somebody who can play fullback, because he is viewed as someone who can play on the left side, and was a part of getting that deal done. Also, the factor that Dallo can play over there, Money Pound, and thank you for being a member. Is Malaysia anywhere near back to full team training? No, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while for that, and we'll see if he's ever fully healthy. Yeah, so that is concerning. Now, so Mazraoui can play on the left, Dallo can play on the left, but I believe it'll be Mazraoui at least to start. Luke Shaw, I think, has a better excuse than Reece James, given his horrific injury that he has. His body has had trouble recovering from that, and everybody's a little bit different physically. I don't think it's fair in some ways to label that certain injury-prone players get, especially guys like Luke Shaw, who they do work hard and all of that, but sometimes it's just bad luck. It's just rotten luck. So I expect that Mazraoui will start on the left side, but they are still looking for a potentially affordable left back option. Now, long term, they're looking at Kirkes, Ait Nouri, two players that they really like. I think it'll be something they'll approach next summer in order of getting one of those fully in, more likely. And then they could have Shaw, Kirkes, Dallo, Mazraoui as 4 good options for all of the fullbacks. Kadioglu sounds like he's going to Brighton. But in the short term, I've mentioned before, potentially a loan for Ben Chilwell could be an option. Cucurella is someone that they've looked at in the past, and not that long ago. I say the past, I mean earlier this year. And so I think there's a few options that are going to be on the table, for this position. And then obviously you've seen mentioned the Athletic have said, Alonso. Who is the other one that they said? Hermoso, though I think in the deal sheet they said they're not pursuing it at this time, so I was a little confused by that. Because their article from overnight, I haven't heard anything on Hermoso, but their article overnight said, give me 1 second, let me just scroll. It says, I was just reading it. Hermoso with United are investigating options. They met former Atletico Madrid defender Mario Hermoso in Madrid last week with a 29-year-old free agent holding talks with prospective clubs, but he's not a player United are pursuing at this time. So I don't know why the links keep popping up from the Athletic when they've already tamped it down. Alonso's been discussed. Yeah, I'm not a huge, Cucurella is probably pretty good. Chilwell and Alonso, I wouldn't be very excited about. But when you're looking in the cheap kind of loans market, I guess, you're kind of starved for options, unfortunately. And that would be why they might be looking at that. So, that's probably what's going on there. And again, I wouldn't expect it somebody to play a lot. Either way, Hermoso seems like he'd be somebody looking for bigger wages too. That's why I think maybe that one is a no. when they want to buy another left back next year. And I think a temporary deal is better if you're trying to buy someone next season. You know, if you're trying to buy someone next season, then going with like a Chilwell and an Amos and, you know, and having Shaw and then Mazraoui, all who can play on the left, at least you're going to have somebody healthy most of the year if you can't get, you know, a Kirkaz or a Ait Nouri right now. Amos will probably stick around and play in the youth side as well as get some minutes here and there. So those are some of the options. Those are some of the options that we're looking at. Now, the other thing that could happen is Gerard Braithwaite. Now, I say could very loosely there, okay, in that, you know, we've said before this was why he was kind of looked at as an ideal person. Hey, quick, don't spam, Jack. Why he was looked at as a bit of an ideal person was his left-footedness, his flexibility in position, things like that. Now, the way United are approaching this window is a little bit funny because, like, how do I explain this? I was saying this earlier, just the way that they're looking at things, is that it's different to, you know, how it was before, where we would say, okay, we're going to get 3 signings, and that's not the way that they look at it now. They say, look, these are all the positions that we want to improve. The dad voice. You know, yeah. These are all the positions that we want to improve. There might be 10. They're just going to go try to do every possible thing that they can. However, so it's fairly unlimited. Like they're not saying, well, we're only going to do 3 or 4 and then we're going to pause there. We're going to stop there. The way that they're looking at it, remember way back in January, I think it was, when I first said, look, nearly everybody's for sale. Nearly everyone's for sale. We would consider almost everybody to be gone, minus some of the younger players, and then, as I understand it, minus Bruno, minus Rashford, who they really did not want to sell. And the point being is that they're willing to overhaul nearly every part of the squad. So when you look at it in the midfield, you know, they're looking at every one of those positions and looking at moving players on, but also bringing players in. And so they're fairly unlimited in that sense. There's no real limit to what they want to do, but they're only going to sign players if they are the right player at the right valuation. So that could be 0. You know, Madrid have done that, spent 0 in summers where it's not the right person. Or it could be 10. You know, it's not setting out to say it's one or the other, or it's 3 and then that's it and we're done with our business. It's not a 3 in, 3 out, you know, fixed kind of arbitrary policy, if that makes sense, in terms of an arbitrary way of acting that isn't logical. It's just deciding on a number and sitting there. It's saying, well, if we can get the players we want at the right value, we'll get them. So we got a striker at the right value, we got a center back at the right value, a fullback at the right value, another center back at the right value. They'll look at more. If they can get Braithwaite at the right value, they'll get him, and then they will consider selling Maguire. Now, if there's an offer for Maguire, it would help that. If Everton are interested in McTominay, if someone's interested in Maguire, it would assist in this. Now, Braithwaite's quite expensive, so financially, of course, they're limited in needing to sell to buy for a player of that expense in addition to the other positions, but it's not specifically like a one-in, one-out thing. It's just they will get the players that they want to get if they meet the value, and they won't sign someone if they don't meet the value. That's it. It doesn't mean, you know, they'll just do it. They'll just wait. They will wait. You know, they'll wait, and then they'll say, okay, well, let's get the right person. So that's kind of the different approach than before. And so that opens the door to Braithwaite. They still want him, but they still want him at the correct value. And then financially, alongside a midfield, they need to sell in order to be able to do that from a financial perspective. So it's just a different approach. It's a different way of operating than what we might be used to on this 3 in, 3 outs thing. So let's say, again, these are all the targets we'd be happy to sign in 10 positions. Well, they'll go through them priority-wise, and they'll just keep working on all of them. And if they can't get them for the value, they won't sign that player, and they'll go back next year and do it again and find other players, that are of value. So it's hard to put it's hard to put a specific and a lid on this is how many we're signing and this is where we're going. Okay, so could we go back a cheap left back potentially this year with a long-term left back likely to be more attainable next summer, unless they can get Braithwaite in now, which is something they will still consider if Everton come down on the fee and they can get some more sales coming in. So that would be the approach there. In the midfield, they are very much still actively pursuing a midfielder. They have talks on for Sander Berge and for Manuel Ugarte, and I believe those are essentially as alternatives, not necessarily together. Those are two players that they're looking at and saying, we like Ugarte, he's our top choice, but he's more expensive. If we can't get the value for him, then we will go for, then we also have Sander Berge being lined up. But they also have a valuation for Sander Berge. And selling, for example, Scott McTominay would give them more flexibility to spend, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sign two midfielders. It's something that they would be able to do in order to improve the financials in addition to getting a midfielder, and it may help further spending. So, that may mean, okay, well, yeah, there's actually a way we could get Ugarte, but we could also get Braithwaite. That price has come down. There's interest in Maguire. We sell McTominay. We could do both. It's still just about with each player getting the right value, but they are going to need some sales in order to be able to complete those kinds of deals, all of them together. They can get a midfielder in at the right price and at the right valuation, but they need to, so selling Scott doesn't necessarily mean two. I've said before, I've really not heard anything about Fofana in terms of any sort of active pursuit for Fofana. I'm sure he's an option. I'm sure he's been looked at. I don't have anything on him. I've said that before. Those are the two that I continue to hear. With Ugarte, they would like to get him closer to 50 million euros. Very similar to De Ligt. Very similar. Similar deal. They'd like to be offering, 40 plus add-ons, somewhere in that range. They need PSG to come down to a more reasonable level. Same exact thing as De Ligt, where Bayern wanted like 60 million total. They came down to 50. PSG will need to do the same thing for United to buy him. With Sander Berge, United would like to get him somewhere in the range of 20 million pounds if they can get him. There might be some add-ons that could take it a little bit higher, but there is, 30 million pounds is what, was being floated originally by Burnley. Again, they'll have to come down. Maybe 20 plus 5 could be something viable that would allow a deal to get done there. But they're going to keep pushing both ahead, and then I think they'll jump on whichever one that they can get. So yeah, that's what's happening in the midfield. They still very much intend to sign someone this year. They really do think PSG will come down, and as we've seen, Jorge Mendes is there's all sorts of stories today about Ugarte, right? Mendes flying around talking to United, trying to push it ahead, all of that. So we'll see if they can get something if they can get something to happen. Now, Luis Enrique has left Ugarte out of his list for training. You can't ask for 60 million euros for a player who is out of training, who is not actively in training, who is not being used at all. You just can't. It's a ridiculous cost. It's a ridiculous price, and it's not reasonable. Nobody is going to pay that. They can say there's other people interested. Nobody's paying 60 million euros for a player when you're not even including him in training. Now, you could say makes the player poor, but it doesn't. It's just their selling position is bad because their manager doesn't want him, and everybody knows that. They're also trying to pursue and get done Desiree Doué. They've signed João Neves. So yeah, a lot of things there. There's probably surely other names and things like that. I don't think either signing would prevent us from signing another midfielder next summer. Next summer, the priority will likely be a midfielder and a fullback, and then maybe another center back as well. Those would be kind of the three main areas. United have been interested in Palacios for a long time. Yeah, if you look at last year, I gave a story that United had to try to sign him on loan plus buy, and they did. And they've been interested for a long time. I just don't think he's attainable. And it's the same with some other names, Yeoman and others as well. What price do you think makes the Ugarte deal happen? I think 50 million euros. I really do. I think if it came down to that, that would happen. So, yeah, interesting movements here. United are still working on it. They still want to get somebody in, for sure, in the midfield. They really do. And they're really trying on it. And I think they will get somebody. Then I think we'll do really well. And if you look at it next year, then if you can get a midfielder now, you need another one next year. And in the fullbacks and in the center backs, you probably need another. I got it, Joseph. That's like the 9th time you've said it, maybe the 10th. We got it. As far as Sancho goes, he could be involved in this. As I'd heard it, their offer for Sancho was too low at the start and was not something we'd consider. A loan plus option, not something we want to do. That being said, if they were willing to do the same deal for Ugarte or similar, then it would be fine. Then it would be something, that would be feasible. Like, if they would say, oh, okay, fine, we'll take Sancho on this, and then Ugarte would be a loan to buy also, then that would be more acceptable to United in that case. So it really just depends on, what. It really just depends on that side of it too. We're not going to say, Sancho on loan to option and pay 60 million for Ugarte. So PSG need to be more realistic about all of their offerings and say, well, look, if we want to offer you a lower rate for Sancho, then we're going to offer you, a better deal on Ugarte as well. But they're also looking at Doué. I don't totally understand their team. They probably need wingers. So maybe it is both, but it needs to be done correctly. It needs to be done done right if it's going to be both, and it doesn't have to be. Sancho could stay. He could very much stay, and at this point, it's more likely he stays. He could stay, and then, we could still get Ugarte at a good price. It's just that we're not going to accept a loan plus option for Sancho that if we're not getting something, some sort of better deal elsewhere. So yeah, that's the reality there. They may be connected, they may not, but I do believe we will get a midfielder in. And I think that would essentially complete what the major needs are for the team, right? If you look at it overall, we got our striker in, so we have a bunch of forwards. We get Ugarte in, we can have a starting midfielder. We have Yoro, we have De Ligt, we have Mazraoui. That completes our starting 11 in a sense, okay, for replacing all the people we needed to replace at this time. Atletico Madrid are interested in Ugarte, but if they're willing to do a loan, then surely we could be in the race for him. I don't. So we'll see. They've been interested in before. I think I've mentioned that Atletico were interested in Ugarte, and he was interested in them, but they don't have a lot of money, so it would have to be a loan for them. So I think that would round out kind of our summer in terms of the midfield. And in terms of the starting lineup, because then you have Lisandro and De Ligt until Yoro comes back. You have Mazraoui, you have Dalot, you have Ugarte, you have Kobbie Mainoo, you have Bruno, you have all your forwards, and that gives you what you need. So, yeah, I think that's good stuff. They just spent that's what I mean. They just spent a load of money on Alvarez. I don't see that they could pay 60 million for Ugarte now. There's just no way. And they were buying Conor Gallagher too. So unless that falls through, well, Mendes is involved in all of this, isn't he? So, I could see something there. So yeah, lot of different things kind of in motion on all of that. In terms of sales, and I want to talk about Bruno Fernandes's contract too, because this has gone a little bit under the radar, but it was actually pretty much an exclusive piece of news to us on the video here. And I just don't like to put things out with these big, exclusives and sirens and all of that. But July 23rd, on one of these videos, I think it was a live, maybe it was a video or a live, I cannot actually remember. I gave you the news that United wanted to now extend Bruno Fernandes's contract, but only by 1 season. They wanted to take it to 2027 plus a year. And the reason for that is when it was expiring on 2026, that means next summer you have to deal with it. And you have to probably look at selling at that time or giving a bigger extension. But they didn't want to deal with that. They want to keep Bruno and not have to deal with it next summer so that they can essentially finish the team. Midfielder, center back, fullback, finish the team next year. And that gives them till then. Then in 2026, you've got a year plus the option. So it gives you a lot of time to sort this out and to retain his value and everything. And it makes him happy. His contract will be improved, but it will also be improved with incentives where he can make the most probably any player at the club if he meets all of the targets. On a base fee, it's not going to be as high as some of the base fee contracts we've given out before because we're trying to avoid that. So, that's one of the things that has happened that they've had those discussions with that they wanted to get done that Fabrizio says has now been done or that has now been agreed, and I'm sure it'll get done at the end of the window. Ahmad and other, they want to extend his contract. So I think that's good. It gives us a lot of time. In terms of sales, they're continuing to look for moves for Pellistri and Hannibal, Lindelof, and then continuing to have people look for options on McTominay to see where he could go. He's definitely one they'd be willing to sell. The same as, and then they wouldn't sell Maguire if they didn't have a deal for Braithwaite. That, to be clear, they don't want to be short at center back, so they wouldn't sell Maguire if they and he's still it's still extremely likely Maguire stays and we don't get Braithwaite this summer, but they wouldn't sell him unless they can get that move for Braithwaite lined up as well. Lindelof could go to Italy. McTominay, everyone's still looking for options for him to go. As I said before, he was going to be picky, and he wasn't necessarily going to choose any club. He wasn't totally sold on Fulham, and he's interested in going kind of elsewhere potentially. There's Napoli mentioning for him, and I think that would be a good choice, a good team. He's okay with going abroad, as I understand it, as long as it's to, a good team, and that's his view. And we discussed that at length last video, so I don't want to spend too much time on it again. Maguire has next year and then the +1, so yeah, he could go, but probably not yet. What was the other thing? Toby Collier. I've talked about this a lot. I'm quite certain on this information. They're okay with keeping at the moment him for some coverage and being depth, and I'm not sure that they would like to sign Amrabat, because if you sign Amrabat, then Collier's not going to play, and they're essentially looking to potentially do the same role as be kind of coverage for him, for the 6 and for that deep midfield spot. And they want to see what to do with him yet, because they're not 100% convinced at this point in time, but they want to see what he can do moving forward. So it depends. If they sign a couple of players, then he might be going on loan or something like that to play a bit. But he might be the backup. If we sign Ugarte, he'll probably stay around and get some minutes in there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens. It's sort of we'll see what he can do is kind of the position on Collier. And they do want to see what he can do, but there's not really a full decision either way on it. I think they believe he could be coverage and get some minutes, but in terms of how good he can be, they're not sure yet. And that's going to be hard to say. So those are the major ones. As just kind of summarizing all of that, Scott McTominay, Lindelof, potentially Maguire if there was a deal for Braithwaite there, but that still remains fairly unlikely. Sancho, does it involve anything with Ugarte? We'd have to see. In a lot of ways at the same point that we were now, just with 2 more done. Continuing to look at our top targets. And this is kind of the point. We get our targets at our valuation and we don't sign players. And we may just have a few that we really value enough to want to sign. And so still on our list, Ugarte, still on our list, Braithwaite. Burge is there though. So yeah, a lot could still happen. But in terms of where we're going to start the season, I think we can pretty much see it. And, you know, and yeah, Anthony, unfortunately, the issue is just nobody to take him. There's just nobody to take him. There's nobody that's really interested. I mentioned a long time ago there was a Ligue 1 club from France that had made an inquiry. I think that was confirmed recently by The Athletic, but it hasn't really moved forward yet. His wages are significant. So, you know, it'd be difficult to see that kind of happening. Any questions on what I've gone over so far? And then I want to briefly run through, you know, what a likely opening day kind of setup is at this point in time. I think it would be a interesting, you know, exercise to look at that now that we've got a couple signings and see where we're going to likely be, how we're going to set it up. But happy to answer any further questions if I haven't explained the strategy and where we're at so far. De Ligt's salary, as I understand it, is not that bad. Not that bad, and it was heavily incentive based as well. Mazraoui, I'm sure, is on okay deals, especially compared to Wan-Bissaka. It's probably about similar. Casemiro for sale and more likely. He's likely to stay because nobody has come in for him, and that'll be what it is. So he's likely to stay for that reason. Still getting linked to strikers. It's not a priority. If we sold Sancho, if we were able to get other deals done, if we sold Scott, if we sold Lindelof, then we might have the money to move for a striker, but it's still very unlikely. Hannibal very likely does want to leave. He's wanted to go play somewhere more significantly for some time, and it's been about time to move. There is interest in Pellistri from a number of clubs. I don't have particulars. I know that there was interest from the Greek club and from a Spanish club. Those Italian clubs may be correct as well. I don't think either one, Burge or Ugarte, would prevent us from looking at Wharton if we want him next year. I mentioned De Ligt's salary. De Jong, a check, but that's about it. It's so expensive. Maguire in a Gerrard deal is not a possibility. Maybe. If Everton were interested and they're bringing the price down, then maybe. But we don't have to swap him. If somebody else is interested, we could sell him. Yeah, left center back, that's why we still would prefer to have Braithwaite, but I would imagine somebody's going to be... I would imagine we're going to see De Ligt and Euro at times through the season once Euro's healthy too, for what it's worth. Alphonso Davies next year, that would be interesting. Yeah, him, Kirkes, Aït-Nouri. I don't know of any interest necessarily in Davies, but certainly he should be an option. Wharton is somebody the club are tracking. I can tell you that much. I mean, everybody should be, or they'd be fools not to. Okay, let's look at the team. Let's look at our chart. Let's look at our chart. Oh, what is this thing doing? Okay, showing stats showing stream stats for some reason instead of the thing I wanted it to be, unless that was just a glitch on my side. Not that it matters. You can all see that if you want. So, okay. So obviously here we've got it pretty well rounded out. Joshua Zirkzee and Højlund. Yeah, Zubimeni wanted to say in Spain. I told you. Great job, best in class Liverpool, getting that done in one day. Good work from them. Rashford. Not quite, though, was it? Getting that done in one day. They got rejected in one day. There's some talk that Garnacho will start, I think, from Laurie Whitwell. I think it'll be on the right, if I'm quite honest. I don't think this is actually... This is... I don't actually know what this is at the moment, but it sort of doesn't matter. We'll say Shaw's on the bench, even though he's injured. This is going to be Alessandro Martinez. This will be Maguire. Let's just put Maguire in here. We'll put Yoro on the bench because he's injured. And then we'll put Mazraoui behind. We'll stick Onana in here. And we'll put the ever unfortunate, never to play Bayindir. I think this is our starting lineup. No, I like to build it. I like to build it during the streams. That's part of the fun of it. Putting the whole team together so we can look at it and think it through. So if it was me, I would say this is where we start, either the first game or by the second game. This is what I would say. There's definitely some talk that De Ligt will be ready to go. Mazraoui, they wanted to get him in there pretty quickly. Now, maybe it'll be, if one isn't ready, obviously that could change. But I think let's say this could be week 1. This could be week 2, right? This could be week 2. And then it could be, Ahmad or Alejandro there. So if I were to look at this, I would say, maybe it was maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't. It could be either one. I would like to see Ahmad get the start. I think he deserves it. And then I think that this is close to the team, but by week 2, it'll be something like this. And you could swap here. But this will be probably the team by week 2. And so if we can get a midfielder in, they will start here. If we can get a backup left back in, that would help. And then, yeah, that would make a big difference. But this is a good team. I don't know about you. This is a good team. Obviously, we need a midfielder, but let's say you can do this, right? Let's say you get this done. And then, yeah, I'm just going to leave this. What do you think? I don't know why people are so upset about Garnacho starting. I don't think Garnacho's playing on the left. Look at all this. I understand why, but you look at his performances, it's from the right. He was poor on the left last year too. He looks a lot better on the right. He did not perform that well on the left. This is a good team. Young, prime ages, young, prime age, young, prime age. And you have good players behind it. And you have a lot of development. All of these players should include. He was not better than Rashford last year on the left. He was, neither of them were good, frankly, but it was quite poor. And he only really started getting in the team regularly when he played on the right. I reckon it's going to be Garna and Ahmad. I don't think so, Angie. I don't think so. I've been pretty clear on how they've approached this and what they've wanted to do. And a big part of even bringing someone like Xerxes in and playing this false 9 is helping to get the runs in behind from players like Marcus Rashford. It's a big part of it. Big part of it. So, yeah, this is where I'm at. There's some match fitness to come in. But I think that with an actual fullback on the left, which is the part that people keep ignoring, the reason why we need a left back so badly, is you actually have fullback support for your winger, which you've had on the right for a long time with Diogo Dalot. And when you have that on the left, you'll see better from the fullbacks. If you put Garnacho out here without a fullback, he's going to do just as badly. It's a guarantee. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. When you actually have a fullback over there, the team will play better. You need fullback support on both sides, and that's why it was a priority. But we'll see that. We'll see that once they actually get going. That's why I'm very excited for Mazraoui. People are very strange about preseason. Rashford had a good preseason. When there was a fullback in the team, he had a good season. He had a good preseason. He did really well with Amas in the team. Combining, he got a goal, a couple assists, things like that. Did well. He'll do well with a fullback in there. But without it, you might as well not play him. There's no point. Then stick Sancho over there. It doesn't matter. Somebody who, even Sancho does way better with a fullback, but you might as well stick a midfielder out here if we're not going to do a fullback. There's just no point. Everybody's had the same problems there. So this is what I would see. This is what I think will happen. And this is the focus from the club. That's not really my opinion, that part of it, but to improve on the balance on both sides. That's why they wanted that left back so badly. But this may be week 1. It may be week 2. Mazraoui is really good in possession. He's really good keeping the ball on the floor. And I think that's important for the dynamics as well. Week 1 could be Bruno here and Mount here. Could be. And Maguire here. It could be. Any other midfield targets beyond Burge and Ugarte? Not the ones that I know of, my man. Those are 2 that I know that they're working on. I'm sure there are others. I'm not saying there's not. When I say not that I know of, I'm saying not ones that I know of, but that I know that we're actively working on. There are other people have different information on that. I'm not hearing about any but those 2 personally, so it may be outside of my view. So yeah, really exciting stuff. And then obviously, yeah, it could be Ahmad here as well. And then it'll be, but the good option is we have all these players. So you can argue about who should start, about who's good, who's not. We'll start, we'll see how they play, and then players will play in the team and we will rotate. And we will rotate a lot more this year to get everybody more minutes, but also more rest. And that's going to be a big focus, of the whole team. So, yeah, we'll talk about this more close to the weekend because I think we'll get more on it. But, yeah, that's what we've got for now. I think that there's definitely still more to come on all of this. I think there's definitely... Xerxes did play in the behind closed doors game, getting his fitness in. But we've got 2 good players per position. It's true. It could be Dalot, it could be Mazraoui, except at the fullback, and I think that's why we need somebody there. But you can have Maguire as a sub now, and then Yoro, when he's back, you have Yoro or De Ligt as a sub. You can have Casemiro as a sub if we sign Ugarte. We can have Eriksen as a sub or a late game player when we're controlling minutes. You can have Mason Mount as a substitute. We can have Højlund and Xerxes. You can have Ahmad and Garnacho. You can have Sancho and Rashford. We've got so many to come. So very exciting times to me. I think that we wanted to get them registered so that they could play. So the registration deadline is tomorrow night, I think. So I think we're going to be in time. And that was kind of the point. At least I know we need Mazraoui or someone in at fullback for sure. Or it's going to be a struggle. We didn't look that great with Lissandro at left back because he's not a left back. He's not a left back. So it's no surprise. But, hopefully we see better in that respect. Better balance and better support for everybody. So, yeah, they're announced. It says for registration still, so they need to be specifically registered, but I believe that they will be. And again, De Ligt on a 5-year, Mazraoui on a 4-year, and I think that makes a difference just based on age. Slightly shorter deal for players who, are a little bit older, and that makes a lot of sense. So, but it is interesting, you can keep going on about these debates. Lisandro Martinez looked mediocre at left back. Is he a mediocre player, or did the way that the squad setup not suit his skills. So that matters for every single player in the team. And I think that people get too agitated about hating players to understand that, and to look at squad dynamics are almost everything. There's a lot of talented players there, a lot of talented players in the team, and that's the biggest part that United were setting out to fix. And that's the fact of it. If you put Lissandro, yes, exactly, he was playing out of position, but positions are not just one player. You know, positions are floaty. They're all over the place. He doesn't have the pace to play at left back. He likes to play better with the game going forward. Well, all of the specifics that make, with the game in front of him, all the specifics that make players good apply to every player on the pitch. A center back, if you're asking them to invert, is going to look worse like Lissandro versus being with the play in front of him, similar to a winger who relies on fullback overlaps to make runs and to play off of them, is going to be worse when they're set up just in pure isolation. That's the same thing. It's the same thing with a striker. They're going to look worse if they're somebody who plays on the run when they're set up as a target man, or as a false nine. It's the same for every single player across the club, where they've been oftentimes shoehorned into positions that don't work. Casemiro's the same thing. He doesn't have the legs for it as much anymore, but you can see how much better he looked in a more compact setup where he's not by himself covering huge spaces. He goes from an awful player to an actually moderately serviceable player, and he had a good game. Lisandro Martinez is a bad wide defender. So everybody has their weaknesses and their strengths, and putting a proper team together is having other players cover up your weaknesses and having the balances put together in strengths. And that's what building a team is all about. And that's what we're doing. And that's why I expect to do so much better this season than we've done in the last. So, you know, I think that those are the things to look at. So I think that's it for today. I'm going to end it here. It's been about an hour. I'm tired, exhausted. Been working, first week, kid going back to school, been busy. So I think that's enough for today. But I think I covered everything. I hope I've answered all of your questions. I appreciate you all being here. Make sure to drop a like on the video. We'll be back tomorrow. Phil's on holiday. We were trying to figure out if we could do the podcast, but better to put it off until afterwards. I will do a video tomorrow. I will do lives through the week. We will do the watch along on Friday, as well as a pre-match video, maybe a post-match one, but we'll do some on the watch along as well. More to come. I think there's more to come. Like I said, I think the midfield is next, and I've hopefully explained all the situations and permutations and all that as well. So again, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate you. And leave him by the pool. He's enjoying his time off as well. So thank you. Thank you very much to everybody. Enjoy the rest of the week. You know, we can be very happy having these double signings in and done. It's been awesome, hasn't it? To the competency, the positives that we've seen. It's been great. It's been really, really good. It's been so encouraging compared to where we've been before. And now we're seeing that. I mean, and this third kit looks really good, by the way, my opinion. I think this third kit looks incredible. I think it might be my favorite. If we sign Ugarte, I will buy an Ugarte kit. And if we sign Ugarte, I will give somebody in the chat one too. Okay, we'll play a little contest. I will buy one, and I will give one away if we buy one as well. A third kit with Ugarte in the back for someone who wants them. So hopefully we do. I'd love to give that away. I think that'd be fun. Okay, thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your days. I will see you all later, and good night.